In this IR forum, I'm going to talk to Dr. Daniel Pinkston, and the question we're going to talk about is, why are there so many military exercises going on, and what do they mean? What purpose do they serve? So the first question is, why are there so many exercises going on?
Well, a couple of things. Of course, there's a lot of volatility and uncertainty in the world right now. We've seen issues in Ukraine, in the war going on there, turbulence in the cross-Taiwan Strait relations, different changes in power dynamics, economic uncertainty, climate change, all of those things going on in a complex world. And in the shadow of all of that, we've suddenly seen this increase or rise in different types of military exercises. A couple of things that have driven that. One is the uncertainty, and militaries want to be prepared, and their political leaders want their militaries to be prepared. But also there's been the pandemic, right? So the pandemic has been very disruptive for, businesses, schools, travel industry, what have you, including militaries. So militaries have not been able to conduct the regular type of military training that they normally would. So I think they're trying to get back to normal. So there's some of that is driving it, but there's also the uncertainty in the world. So trying to unpack those two is what we have to do. A lot of people have misunderstandings about militaries. It all depends on what you do with them, of course, right? And how their political leaders use or employ them. But certainly being prepared for different contingencies, right? So whether that's humanitarian assistance, responding to natural disasters, deterring an enemy or a foe. And of course, they can be constructive or destructive. They can be aggressive or benevolent, right? So it just depends. But the militaries have to be prepared for different types of contingencies. So when they do a military exercise or do certain type of training, I think the military experts, what they observe, they might interpret different types of maneuvers, different types of operations, different types of training that they do could be intimidating and could be part of an aggressive action, or it could be defensive in nature. So, the details are what matters when we look at the military exercises. And then opponents, adversaries, friends, and foes will look at those exercises and draw their conclusions about possible intent. Conflict and exercises, they also serve another function. They reveal information. Everyone had this, assessment of the Russians being this great army and they were going to overwhelm the Ukrainians. And I think everyone was shocked by Russian incompetence and failures, right? So I guess we go back to James Fearon's, rationalist theory of war, conflict. If there were perfect information, you knew who would win, and then you just sign an agreement and avoid the fighting, right? So this is disclosed information about the capabilities of the Ukrainian forces and the Russian forces. So it also, when you train and you don't fight, it reveals your capabilities because observers can watch and see what you're doing to some extent, even if it's not tested in battle or in war or conflict. And it can also signal resolve, right? So you're doing this stuff, you're demonstrating what you can do. And if you need to do it, you can do it. So it's signaling resolve, right? So I think in the Taiwan case that we just mentioned, after the Pelosi visit, the mainland was so angry about this and possible movement towards independence and recognition of Taiwan as a separate, independent, sovereign state is unacceptable politically in Beijing. So they demonstrated their capabilities and the possible willingness to use force under certain conditions, right? So that also plays into the other exercises that are taking place these days in the Pacific and in Korea.
Thank you for watching this IR forum. Come back and join us when we continue the conversation. Daniel's going to talk about the role of military exercises in the North Korean nuclear disarmament talks, and also the evolving role of Japan in security relations in the Pacific.